I guess I came over here in April last year and wanted something to do, I sort of wrote a list of things that I'd like to do with when I had my 12 months off, and learning a few skills was one of them. So through my friend who lived here, she put me in contact with Barry, who owned a coffee shop up on 38th Street. And I went in there and asked if he could teach me to make coffee. I'd work for free, but so I used to go in there and he taught me how to make coffee, and I used to do 2 shifts a week, and sort of gave me some structure while I was here. And it was the first store was here. He'd been in there for a couple of years, and this one, this bigger store, has just opened in April this year down in Cliff Street. So it's exciting and it's going well so far.
That's great to hear. And last year, how did you stay fit? What else did you do in your off time besides working the coffee shop 2 days a week?
Yeah, well, I mean, when I say I worked, I did 12 till 4 shifts, so I had a lot of spare time. So, I mean, New York is one of those cities where, you know, there's a lot of people who are really health conscious, and I lived over in Williamsburg. I used to run on the athletics track over there. I tried Brooklyn Body Burn, which was like a megaform type Pilates session, and I tried a lot of different classes, did a lot of yoga. I've actually got a gym opening up here in February over in Williamsburg as well. So, I mean, I found it quite therapeutic to train without competing. You know, it was nice just to train for enjoyment's sake, and New York's an easy city to keep fit in.
Excellent. And where does the fascination from coffee come? Are you a big coffee drinker yourself? Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I drank a lot of coffee back home and I loved it. And I think my sister had worked in hospitality a lot, and when we'd go down the farm, we had a machine down there, and she would always make the coffees for everyone. And I thought, oh, gee, I'd love to learn how to do that. But she was so good, so they never let me try. And then I was down there not long after we got banned, and I sort of wrote a list of things I wanted to do, and learning new skills was one of them. And so I thought, you know, why not? Why not try it and come over here? And I needed something to do, and I wanted something that I could add to my experience here, and that was part of it.
And you talk about those other skills that you wanted to do in that 12-month period. Can you talk us through some of the other ones, and have you already ticked them off?
Yeah, I told myself I'd like to learn to surf, so I went to I tagged along with Cale Hooker and his girlfriend Katie to Hawaii for a couple of weeks. And I got up on one wave, so I told them I've done that. I know how to surf now. So that was one of them. You know, meeting a girl. You know, I wanted to meet someone, so I met a girl last year here, and that was another thing. And then trying new experiences and saying yes to things where I guess I'd sort of been a bit more closed off in Melbourne in that environment, and I went and did some hiking in Norway, did some a canoe trip up in upstate New York, and met some great people, and sort of just had new experiences, which is what I loved about being here in this city.
And you mentioned meeting a girl. Obviously, there's that story going around about how you chased her out of the coffee shop with your number.
Yeah.
What's next for you? Is New York going to be your home? Do you see yourself moving here? Obviously, your gym's opening up and you've brought into the business here. Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, it's sort of a tough one. I'm learning about compromise and about working for each other. As a footballer, you sort of everything's focused about yourself and your body and getting that right. And then when you're in a relationship, that's not how life works and not how relationships work. So Virginia moved everything over for Melbourne for me, and started studying and continued her course. And so she's got another 12 months to finish her undergrad, which we'll complete in Melbourne. And then we'll decide. I think she wants to become a surgeon. So medicine, whether she wants to do that here or wants to do it back in Melbourne, sort of something that we'll come to a decision about together, and whether that means we move back here, be great. If not, then, you know, Melbourne will be home, and family's there for me as well. So it's a beautiful place to live anyway, Melbourne. But you know, New York for me is there's such energy and life about it, and I really loved it when I was here.
There's a lot of, obviously, American sports are huge over here. Are you big into them? Do you have a favourite NBA team or NFL team? What do you sort of follow?
Yeah, I loved it. Especially when you live here, you get to feel the energy and how supportive the Americans are of their sport. And I remember, you know, last year I was here for the NBA playoffs, and When the Warriors played the OKC in that 7-game series, I remember sitting in front of the TV watching Klay Thompson in games. I think it was Game 5 or Game 6 in OKC, hitting those 11 threes. And I was just like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And then to be able to enjoy that in like the pub sort of way and the culture that they do it. And I'm a big Raiders fan in the NFL, so I grew up watching a lot of NFL with Dad, and he sort of hooked me on it. We remember watching Brett Favre for the Packers when we were growing up, and now I sort of love the Raiders. And Dad's coming over in a week's time. We're going to go to the Jets game, go to Knicks game, and the American sport, I really love it, and I think they do it really well. Their fan engagement is fantastic, and people love their sport here, and you feel that every city has something that they support, and they get really involved, and the whole city comes alive when the teams are going well.
And you mentioned your father is coming over. A bit more of a serious note. How was it growing up? Obviously you've got a very famous father and playing at the same club. I know Gary Ablett said to me, it was a bit of a challenge. Did that affect you, or did it drive you? Did it help you in your career, do you think?
Yeah, I think it is a challenge, and I'm not sure what Gaz has spoken about it. But for me, I think I see it a lot with other father-sons who come in, and the development of those guys is sort of a little bit hindered because it's tough to want to show people how much you want to play footy because you're always going to be compared to your father, and I think that in that formative year through a teenage period, you don't want to sort of let people know how much it means to you because you're always afraid that if it doesn't work out, you'll lose a bit of your own identity. And so I see father-sons who come into the club and they're probably a little bit underdeveloped to other guys because they feel like they didn't want to show people how much it meant to them. And that's sort of how I felt, even though Mum and Dad were incredibly supportive. It was more about if I really tell people how much I'd love to be a footy player and I don't, will I lose an identity because of that? But to have, once you get involved in the footy industry and to have that support and have people who have experienced it and to be able to use their knowledge and the footy has meant so much to my family, and that's one of the things that I really loved about coming back was being able to share those experiences with my nieces. They've sort of understood what footy is, and to be out, that's the thing I most enjoyed about coming back and playing these past 12 months was being able to, my niece came to the game and she could support me and come down to the rooms, and when you're young you sort of take that for granted because that's all you had, that's what you knew, but that's not what everyone else was able to experience, and so to be able to share that experience with someone else, I found it really fulfilling, and that was the thing I most enjoyed about coming back.
That's great. And obviously pre-season's starting to creep up on us again. Does it feel weird, or how do you feel sort of not going to pre-season training and sort of being over here?
Yeah, I think at the moment it sort of feels normal because it's the normal end of a season. The only thing is I probably don't have that nagging voice in the back of my head saying you got to get up, go for a run, you got to train, which is what this period is sort of like. I think the adjustments will be, December when the guys are back training, and then also when the games are back started. And Melbourne is so centred around footy, so to not be part of it, but have it being such a huge part of the culture, will probably be a bit, that'll be a challenge for a while. Over here, you can disconnect yourself from it, it's easy, but Melbourne, I think, will be a challenge, to be back there and to have the guys competing and being part of it. And knowing you're not part of it is something that I think will be an adjustment. Yeah. And
Essendon's managed to build a pretty good list. How do you expect them to perform next season?
Yeah, they've done an incredible job, and I think that it's really exciting for the football club where they're at. And I think that if they can get the synergy right and get those guys playing more and more time, and they get some luck with injury, then they've got a most talented list since I've been at the club is this period now. So for them to be able to utilise that and capture that talent, I think it's a really exciting period for the footy club.
Do you think you'll be tuning into the AFL, or do you think you'll just take a bit of a break and follow it a bit looser?
I think it'll be a bit looser. I mean, I would still be interested because of the friendships that I have and those guys going well. And I still love the game, I still love footy, and so I'll be interested to see how things are progressing. But you're probably not as intently involved as when you are as a player. When we got banned and I came over here, I started to separate myself from that world, and I started to realise what I'd been sort of carrying through it. Being able to come back, and I really knew that I didn't want to be the captain anymore, because I just didn't want to have to handle all those responsibilities.